Okay, nice to meet you guys. Impact Winter, could you tell us really something about what kind of game is Impact Winter?
So it's we're trying to play with the survival genre. It takes place a year after an asteroid collision, and you play Jacob Solomon in charge of this team of 4 other survivors that are housed in an old abandoned church. Obviously, the world has become very, very cold, very buried. So it's your job as leader to keep the team alive, go out, explore the world, find the resources required. Obviously, we have a lot of survival elements like resource management and crafting, but we also have this adventure RPG element with the rescue timer. You have 30 days before rescue arrives, and you can lower that by exploration and generally by being a good leader in the game. So.
Okay, yeah. So I got to try a bit out the game, and I liked what I saw so far. So there seems to be a lot of things going on in there, especially with the characters. So could you tell us more about the characters? What kind of characters are we dealing with in the game?
Well, the characters are 4 people that you meet on your travels in the church, and you are the leader of this team. Each of those characters has a defined skill set which you can utilize in order to survive out there in the void. Wendy is kind of the mother hen of the group, so she's nurturing, so she deals with the food, medicine, that kind of thing. Maggie is an ex-mechanic, so she deals with a lot of the church upgrades, the defence of the church, just making sure that everyone's safe. Blaine is ex-law enforcement, so he deals with things like exploration, enabling you to, things like climbing gloves, camping equipment, that sort of thing. He also deals with your weaponry. And Christoph is quite a young techie kind of guy, and he's responsible for upgrading Acolyte, your companion droid, or drone rather, and and he's obviously pivotal to your survival out there in the void.
Okay. Also, I noticed when playing the game that this is open world, but it's at the beginning it's kind of small. Does the world open up anymore when you play the game further?
So we have this big fixed open map for you to explore from the very beginning of the game. We do have locked areas that will become accessible through upgrades that you can acquire. Mark mentioned the climbing gloves, for example, so you can hit the mountain region. But the key is also this underworld that we have. So we have about 23 hours of content just buried underneath the snow for you to explore, everywhere from gas stations to airports and hospitals. So there's a lot of emphasis on the world underneath that's been buried as much as the overworld void that you can explore.
Okay. Also, there seems to be a different storylines according to the different characters. Is there any for multiple playthroughs? Is there any new content if you play the game through multiple times?
Yeah, well, the thing with the idea of those is that you obviously focus on one character path, at least to begin with. At any given point during that character's path, you can intersect with another character path. But the idea is that you don't experience all character paths during one playthrough, giving obviously replay value. And also, you have the role system in the game, and you unlock those as you progress through. And the role system really gives you the ability to assign different roles to NPC characters. So, for example, if you wanted to focus on something specific, but you didn't want to have to keep bringing fuel back to the church, well, you can assign that role to an NPC character, and so forth. But there are far more roles than there are characters, so that obviously gives you replay value. And when you start a new game, you're not then penalised to have to go back to the beginning and then start, reclaiming those roles again. Those roles remain unlocked so that you can, essentially bring that speedrun element into the game where, on multiple playthroughs, the idea is that obviously the overall rescue timer is that you're trying to reduce your rescue time. So, over multiple playthroughs, if you've got more at your disposal, then you're obviously going to become quicker, Yeah. And we estimate that on a long, arduous playthrough of the 30 days, you're probably looking somewhere between 12 and 14 hours. Yeah. You can probably half that I would say, on a good speed run. You know,
Okay.
and the speed run elements, again, it's a kind of unique thing that we're trying to sort of bring into this adventure survival genre, because it's generally not sort of a thing that's seen. So it's kind of a fusion. But again, it gives replay value, and it gives you the opportunity to keep bettering yourself, and also for leaderboards online, which is another feature we'll have as well.
Okay, so there will be a little competition, even though the game is single player. So you have a little competitive element there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and and also bettering your own achievements as well. But yeah, definitely.
Okay, I really like the art style of the game. You're the artist behind the game. Could you tell me more about your influences behind the art style of the game?
Yeah, I think, well, Impact Winter started out originally as a 2D game, which probably would have been madness to try and create now that we think back to it. But as time went by, we decided to make the move to using Unity and 3D. But I think those initial conceptual phases of creating the characters and the world in 2D, they sort of naturally filtered down into the art style. But we generally don't go out of our way to sort of be influenced by anything directly, and certainly not by anything current, because we didn't want it to be comparable to anything. But we're all of a similar age. We all grew up in the same era, so we all have very similar influences. You know, so whether it's John Carpenter movies, Steven Spielberg, music like Harold Faltermeyer, Vince DiCola, John Carpenter again. And another thing that prompted us to get Mitch Murder involved in the soundtrack as well. But we wear our influences on our sleeve. So generally, a style of a game that we come up with is generally a response to the premise, the time that we've got, the size of our team, and so we work within our own boundaries and just let that kind of dictate, and whatever comes out, comes out.
Okay. Yeah. So you guys are now heading for April release, am I right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
April 12th.
Yeah, and you're releasing on PC first.
That's right.
Yeah. Are you planning on console releases, and what would be the schedule on those?
Yes, we're announcing console today as part of the show as well. So we're coming to Xbox One, PS4.
Yeah.
We don't have a date for those yet. So our focus, being a small team, of course, is completely PC. But they will be coming at a later date. We're announcing that today.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for this. It was a really nice pleasure to try the game out and talking with you. So hopefully I'll get to try the game in April when it comes out.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you.